Today we are taking apart at PAX West the 7950 GX2. This is a dual GPU card. I asked EVGA to bring us something cool to work with. This is what they came up with. So we should already have coverage up of the DG77 case, and that's actually new. This, however, is not. It's from 2006. It's a dual GPU card, but unlike the dual GPU cards that most of us are used to from recent years, this one has two PCBs, on each of which is a separate set of memory, separate VRM, and a separate GPU. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We are tearing down the 7950 GX2 dual GPU card from 2006 to see how it looks inside. Before getting to that, this coverage is brought to you by Thermaltake and their new Core P3 chassis. It's an open air chassis that can double as a test bench or can be wall mounted, and you can learn more at the link in the description below. So this card is like I said, it's got two GPUs on it. In between, there's actually an SLI bridge, and we talked about this on EVGA's stream, so if you already saw their stream, then you know most of this stuff, but I'm going to redo it all here for you. So in between is the bridge, and there's a bridge chip in there, which this card is before my time as a reviewer, so I am not too familiar with its specs or performance of the time. We can take it apart. That's not outside of my ability, so we'll take this off. It's got a couple of basically just these black sets of screws on either side to hold it all together, and then on the opposite back of the PCB is the chromed or just normal screws, steel screws that hold the cooler on. So the cooler's got two small blower fans. Not sure what the exact size is. They look kind of like 40s, maybe 60s, but I think they are closer to 40. I'm gonna have to get in here. Okay, there we go. So that's the first piece free. There's a couple more of these. They're held on here, and also it's a 6-pin connector, single one, dual GPU. It supports SLI, so you, actually, where's the SLI? There's the SLI finger right there. So you can do SLI with this, which means you could do 4-way SLI. And it's not new to do 4-way SLI with two cards, but this is two cards with 4 PCBs in that instance, so that's kind of interesting. In terms of the rest, we have, I think it's a 1 gigabyte memory capacity. So I think we're at, I don't remember how many memory modules it was. We'll see once we get in there. But I think this was the era of GDDR3. This is well before any HBM discussion even came up in the public, especially. 2006 era product. It did not live very long. This got killed by another dual GPU card that I think came out with the 8000 series and effectively put the nail in the coffin for this one. Now this is, despite being branded as EVGA, it is a reference design from NVIDIA. So this is how they shipped for basically all of them. And EVGA just happened to still have one in their warehouse. They have actually a lot of old cool stuff there. But if we take this last couple pegs out, we'll be able to see the card. Okay, looking good. I think it just separates now. So you can see the SLI bridge in there. We're just gonna pull and it should separate. There you go. There's the SLI bridge component. There's a bridge chip underneath. I don't know if it's under each of them or just under one. We'll look though. And also, just from a TDP perspective, I think this was a 146 watt, I wanna say, part. So if you put that into perspective today, this is, what was it, like 76 gigabytes of memory bandwidth per second on this card. You have modern cards doing well over 300 in some cases. And then this was before single CUDA cores were really a thing. They were doing Vertex and I think Pixel Pipelines was the other one. Vertex and Pixel Pipelines. Vertex shaders, that is. So older era, but the point is at 146 watts, you look at the performance then, what that gave you versus the performance now, where like, what is it, a 1060 maybe is around that area. A 480 is not too distant. So you consider the technology today and when this came out, it's a pretty big jump. Especially because this video card, I believe, was $650 when it launched. video cards, effectively. So $650. You can still get them for around 60 bucks on eBay. But yeah, there's the GPU. We already rubbed the thermal paste off earlier. And the die actually says, the die cover says G71. I don't remember which architecture this is. You could, I'll look it up and maybe leave a comment below. But G71 was the GPU. Very small GPU comparatively, and so you didn't need a huge cooling solution. And also, I think the 146 watts may have been for the entire card, not for just one. So if that's the case, you're looking at 70 watts per GPU. If that's the case, I'd have to look it up, and we're at a trade show. So, small cold plate here, aluminum sink, aluminum separate bridges to connect through the thermal pad and to the VRAM modules. So there are 8 of these per card, and it's a 1 gigabyte total capacity on the whole card. So that's 512, and the other one's gonna have 512 as well. And then for the power components, it's a Delta inductor setup. And then front side, there's the bridge chip. There's the SLI bridge. You can actually pull that out if you want to. If you want to do a mod on this, like, I mean, if I were reviewing this today, if it were a new card, I'd love to pull it apart, put a different SLI connector in there, like a ribbon cable, and then you just put a big cooler on each one and see what it can do for overclocking. And this card, this is the same, so it's identical under there. There's no point in taking it apart. The cooler's all the same. You can see it's a pretty pedestrian cooler by today's standards. The aluminum fins in there are not that dense. There's not a lot of mass, but I guess it worked for the time. I'm not really sure. We didn't review one. There's the tiny fan though. And that's it. That's the 7950 GX2. As always, if you like this content, you can go to patreon.com/GamersNexus to help us out directly, or subscribe for more. Check out the channel for other coverage like the DG7 overview at the show, and we'll see you all next time.